While school shootings in the U.S. are no longer a rarity, what happened at this Virginia elementary school in January was shocking. The shooter was only 6 years old. The victim, his 25-year-old teacher, Abby Zwerner. Despite being shot, she managed to get all of her students to safety.
Female victim, she's been shot in the abdomen as well as a through and through into the hand.
Amid the ongoing criminal and civil cases, the family of the first grader who shot his teacher has remained quiet until now.
Does he talk about the incident?
No. We talk, we play, we, do Uno, draw pictures, but nothing of the incident.
There's Deja Taylor and the little kid's grandfather there sitting down and talking to ABC about the fallout, at least the response and everything that they've been dealing with since the six-year-old shot his teacher there. And of course, she has these multiple $1 million lawsuit against the district as well. But as they sat down, they continued their conversation and they were getting to some of the answers. What led up to this point? What was the conflict? What's really going on in this school? Whose fault was this? Let's watch more.
What can you tell us specifically about your son's disability?
He has ADHD. Some are able to have it at a very mild rate, but he's off the wall, doesn't sit still, ever.
Had your son ever spoken about hurting the teacher, or was there anything any angst that he had against her?
No, he actually really liked her. I will say that week he did come home and he was talking a lot about how he felt like he was being ignored. So he would come home and, Mom, I don't think that she was listening to me. I didn't like that. And then actually he ended up getting suspended the next day because he was in class. He was trying to tell her something. And she asked him to go sit back down. He threw his arms up, he said, fine. And when he threw his arms up, he knocked her phone out of her hand on accident. And he got suspended for that.
Zwerner did not respond to ABC News' request for comment, but in a lawsuit, she says the student slammed the cell phone on the ground so hard that it cracked and shattered.
Well, one account says that he slapped the phone so hard it cracked and shattered, and the kid said that he accidentally hit it out of his hand when he was frustrated. ADHD was brought into the conversation as well by his mother to point out some of the issues that they've had between trying to figure out how to best accommodate the kid in class. And I guess it all came to a head, but they have two very different versions of what it is that happened. And of course, as I mentioned, the $40 million that's going in this lawsuit against the school is a big part about this. And also, as we've heard, I believe portions of his family are also being charged with not getting that gun put away safely. As we know about safe storage of guns is another one of these new issues that's happening, at least people being called out for now. She was also asked about that. Exactly how did he get his hands on the gun then if it wasn't unsafely kept? Let's watch.
The gun used in the shooting was legally purchased by Taylor. She says it was kept locked away.
How did your son access the gun?
Nobody knows.
No one knows.
You'd have to ask him.
Have you asked him?
No, not yet. That's certainly something that will be probably brought out during litigation.
Let me just ask this, and I'll direct it to you, Jimmy. Is it that no one has asked him how he got it, or you're just not ready to reveal how he got it?
We're not ready to discuss that at this point.
Understood.
I am, yes, people have talked to him about that. I don't know that any adult knows exactly how he got the gun.
Well, anytime, Miranda, your attorney has to answer that very sticky question, because that is one of the big ones about how he got access to that gun. Because again, the blame and the responsibility and the consequences come to his parents. That's when the attorney gets to talking. I get the feeling they should have probably found a better way of answering it, though. There's a little bit more to this, but just we have a few clips already we jumped to. I'm curious what you've been thinking.
There's a lot going on in this story, and there's a lot that is clearly unknown. Or one person says this, another person says that. I think that while ADHD came up, and while it can lead to, anger outbursts and the like within children who have it pretty severely, I think that the crux of the story comes down to the gun ownership, where it was kept, how it was kept, why he knew it was there, how he knew how to get it, how he knew to use it, take it. He was 6. When I was 6, I didn't really understand guns or how they worked. And so why was that even at the forefront of his mind? I think there's a lot more going on in the story. And I think it was really interesting that when they asked that question, the attorney did answer and answered in a very interesting / condescending way to the reporter, and had like a bit of a mixed answer. So I think there's definitely something there with how the gun was stored, how safely it was kept, if it was kept out of reach, and why he was able to take it, know how to use it, be able to use it. And then there's also the facts of there were multiple reports made to the school about this kid had a gun at recess. He showed it to me. This kid had something in his pocket or something in his locker. And so I think focusing on, the kid's behavior, like the ADHD, is definitely a distraction and not necessarily the way to go, because I think there's much more important facts to the story.
I always worry about that. As soon as I heard her talking about the ADHD, which again, I get it as far as maybe the challenges that the teacher had with normal class processes, or maybe even like discipline whenever he's having outbursts. I get bringing that up, but I think we sometimes forget he's 6 years old, but he's still this kid. He's still this human that's gonna grow up with this being attached to him. And I get trying to keep him from having any of these, but I don't think he's gonna get necessarily so much responsibility of this stuff, because again, he's 6. She did lose full custody of her child though, and she's facing these child neglect charges. He's now with his grandfather, which is a big part about this. Now again, as you mentioned, the school could potentially be held responsible for this. First off, from the $40 million lawsuit that the teacher's setting there, but that same attorney with the condescending answer there, they're also setting up something to come after the school as well, it seems. Let's watch it.
According to the suit, the child had a history of random violence and that he attacked students and teachers alike, both in and out of school.
Is that description accurate?
Whether it is or it isn't, the school enrolled him in September knowing all of the past behaviors, and they also knew that he had not attended only about 2 months of kindergarten and about 2 months of pre-K.
There's lots of children in school that have different kinds of, we go through ADHD, and people talk about other kids when they come in with whatever kind of behavioral type of issues that come from just a normal classroom setting. And if we start hanging this around their necks to that degree, I worry about how it's gonna make them feel. We assume children don't understand what's being said about them or the types of negative energies that are put towards them. But I think we can see from teachers' point of view to parents to administrators, there's a way to see and deal with certain children. And maybe sometimes they just get tired of doing it, and these types of things happen.